Welcome back, NASA educators and students. My name is Miss Brittany Koger, and I'm going to be walking you through our third investigation station for our microgravity dice game. This is the dice investigation stations. All right, so we are seeing how dice naturally react when we throw them and roll them. You should have already done our introduction, the weight and measurement, our magnet test, and now we are testing out dice and how dice roll. So you're going to need a set of dice for your students if you're partnering them up. So you're going to need one per partner set or per group. I did this small group and I had them partner up with each other. And I have a ring pop bucket here because I can see through the side, and I taped a ruler in here. So you're going to need a ruler and some type of bucket to throw your dice in, because we want to see how high the dice bounce. So this is why I partnered my students up. I had one person roll and the other person kind of paid attention to how high the dice went. The person that rolled needs to pay attention to how the dice reacts. Do they bump into each other? Do they land flat? Did they bounce at all? And then that other person is going to tell you how high they bounced. All right. And you can do one dice at a time and then put them together and try them together and see if you can see both of them and try to get a reading on both of them. It is going to be a little difficult, so you may need to help your students with this one because it is going to be kind of hard to tell how high they bounce up. All right. So we're going to roll dice underhanded and overhanded, and we're going to do this 10 times a piece just because, we need to know several differences to see an average height of how high that dice bounces. Because we want our dice to react naturally in space, but we're not going to get this bounce in space naturally. But we want to be prepared in case our dice does not connect, for it to bounce up and possibly still be able to connect to our game board. So that is the reason why we are doing this today. So we're going to roll underhanded, and then we're going to drop it in. Have one person looking at the ruler there to see how high those dice bounce up. All right, so we're going to see if I can do this with you guys and kind of show you this on my own. All right, I'm going to hold it here. And I'm looking through the back, and I can still see my ruler, so don't think I'm not reading it. I can read it. All right, we're going to roll it underhanded. Now pay attention to how the dice react, okay? Want to roll them underhanded into this bucket. I saw about a half of an inch as it bounced. About a half of an inch was my highest bounce there. And then I noticed that they bounced into each other, and one's on this side of the container and one's on that side of the container because they bounced into each other and they went opposite ways, okay? So I would put a half of an inch. They hit each other and went opposite ways. That's what I would put in my observation. All right, I'm going to turn it around this way so I can kind of see a little better. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to roll. That time, one of them got up to 2 inches. All right, it bounced all the way up to 2 inches. We were at a half of an inch last time. This time, one of them got up to 2 inches. The other one was about an inch. They did hit each other, but they didn't go opposite sides. They are side by side there. So they didn't bounce far off. And like I said, you're going to do this 10 times, underhanded, 10 times overhanded. And I like to roll at least 3 or 4 to show you guys how I do it. Again, I got up to 2 inches on the bounce. And they're together again. They did not bounce away from each other. They stayed kind of close together. All right, last time I'm going to do it for you guys. Rolling. I got 1.5 inches that time. And they're again side by side. So they did not bounce away from each other. They stayed together. All right, so we did underhanded. Now we're just going to drop them in there and see if that makes a difference. All right. They actually did not bounce very high on that one. That was about a half of an inch. They hit each other and went opposite ways with that one. I have one on this side and one on this side. So a half of an inch. They hit each other and went opposite ways. All right, we're going to drop them again. I had a big bounce on one of my dice. One of my dice literally just bounced up to 3 inches. The other one was about a half of an inch. I've got one over here and one over here. They did not hit each other. They just kind of went opposite ways. So, all right, that was a good reading there. All right, we're going to do it again. And I'm at the top of my ruler. Notice I'm not way up here and I'm not like right in the bucket. I'm at the top of my ruler, so about 12 inches off the ground. All right. Bounced up to 3 inches. Again, they are side by side. They did not bounce off of each other. They landed right beside each other. All right. We're going to do this again. Dropping. I'm getting way more of a bounce. I got 2 inches that time. they bumped into each other and they're on the opposite sides of the bucket. That's all you've got to record, is just kind of how those dice reacted when you threw them in the bucket, how tall they bounced up. Because again, we want to make sure that our dice do not bounce away from our game board and fly off into places in the space station. We want to see how strong of a magnet we're going to need to make sure that connects. If we're bouncing up to 3 inches, we're going to need a magnet strong enough to pull that down from at least 3 inches away. So that is the whole purpose of testing this today, was to see how tall or how high these dice bounce, how these dice naturally react when you throw them and roll them into a container. All right, so have fun with this. Roll these dice as many times as you can. Like I said, I put down 10 times each, so 20 times total. Talk about it with your group, collaborate together. Let your students take turns. One rolls while one reads, and then they swap positions. And that way they each get to roll 5 times a piece, or, however big your group is, work it out however you can. Do this as many times as you can with your students and record that data. That is the most important part, is to record that data, to collaborate together, and to have fun. So make sure you're always having fun with these stations. I know I always do, and my students always have a blast. It's very interesting to see what they notice about these dice and how they react to each other. I thought these guys wouldn't have a lot of fun with this station, but they had a lot of fun, and it kind of became a competition with some of my boys to see how high they could get the dice to bounce. So they were like throwing it in really hard to get it to bounce high. Not what I wanted, but they did actually see how dice naturally react, and how hard you have to roll them to get them to react that way. So that is scientific data. That is testing. That's entering in our information, and we're going to use all this information for our project at the end when we design our game board and our dice together. I hope you guys had fun with this one. I'm going to see you at the next investigation station, and we're going to see how far dice roll when we roll them out of our hands, and see how far they go in another container. All right, I cannot wait to see you at the next investigation station. See you later, guys. Have a good day.